Hey, good morning and welcome to the Rude Boy Show, or good afternoon to you wherever you are listening from. Welcome to the Rude Boy Sound and Tottenham, USA. And what's on top today? Well, we witness something that just about all of us that believe in the basics of football with Tottenham yesterday. What day is today? Was it yesterday? Seemed like so long ago. I actually forget that we played against Chelsea. Now, in doing this video, I have not watched, I have not commented, I have not done anything but turned my television off after the interview by the Sky Sports journalist of Ange after the game. And so I'm going to talk from the point of my thoughts leading into the game, regardless of what that outcome would have been. It is obvious that there are things, and again, the reference here is always to say, go back and look at my previous videos, go back and look at my previous postings, go back to see the consistency in which I spoke about the classical, hiding the ball by Ange Postacoglu. The classical, we are going to get better in spite of what you're looking at. We are going to get better because this element of the football is missing. We are going to get better because these are the factors that are stopping us from getting better. And so when you look at the beginning of the season, which is a culmination of what happened last year, we fought to hold on to fifth place after starting like a forest on fire. And so we ended up where we were going, pretty much, pretty close to mediocrity. And even though we finished in the top six, there are those who are ranting and say, see there, we are better three places up from where we were, right? The funny about that is more than 80% of people with a modicum of sense and football knowledge said that we would have all taken fifth and a long run. We wanted to just make it back to respectability, make it back into the top six, and then based on the reputation of the manager, giving him time, based on again his reputation. And I'm not here to blame Daniel Levy. He has to employ somebody. And according to most of us, including myself, even though I was going for the wait and see, is that we endorse Ange. So don't go back and be this revisionist history. Put your hands up and turn around and say, I made a mistake. Put your hands up like I did and said, I did not know enough to say I did not want this manager, but I would have taken a manager other than Conte. Put your hands up and not be a wimp, because now it is not going the way that it is going. And I'm going to get to the factors, right? And what you're hearing is that the players are not good enough. The manager did not say that. The players were not good enough. He said, I wholesome endorse the players I'm going to retain, and in due time, paraphrasing here, that I will find players who should fit my system, right? That's the first thing. Secondly, right, every single player that came in after. There's this braggadocious, I made the call, right? I made the call. I don't want this kind of player. So therefore, if you see players coming in, whether they be a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old or whatever it is, a 19-year-old, Ange, the man, the procurer of talent and the man who knows talent, has something to say. We celebrated the conversation with James Madison coming in, just the way we want to now celebrate all the garbage that Conte had said, burning the house down before he left, taking no responsibility. Now we have a manager who is making excuse after excuse about the reason why his tactics does not work. And I might tell you this, if you care to listen, it has zero to do with the players. His tactics does not work because it does not work. Zero to do with any player currently on that roster. Right? Those are things that we need to look at. Right? Secondly, or thirdly, wherever I'm at in the scale, right, is that the injuries was a precursor, right, to the way he played. And he did more damage to the players trying to implement a system in a league that is predicated on stifling speed, is predicated on making sure that you're jammed at the path and you don't get out and run. So therefore, you have to be able to be intricate. And intricacy is not a part of this guy's thinking or vocabulary. And so you come back to the injuries. And when you look at what we were doing, right? I'm very passionate about this. I can talk in my lowest monotonous voice about this. You know, my commentary might not suit you today, but this is an official rant. So just in case somebody is going to say, why is so angry? This isn't about race, right? Why is the black guy so angry? Why are you people always so angry? It's a football discussion, and I'm angry about football. If you want to know how boring I can be, go watch the rest of my video. Don't watch this one, because the truth sometimes have to hit hard, and sometimes you need something behind it for the people who are saying that this guy should not be fired because we fired Pochettino. This guy should not be fired because we fired Conte. This guy should not be fired because we fired Nuno and Jose and all the people that came before him. We should not fire this manager for all those reasons. And none of them who are telling you that, except for a few that I know, not personally, but communicated with, right? None are saying that this man should not be fired because of his performance. None has said that, because the fact of the matter is, it's wins, losses, and your attitude and your willingness to accept that what you're doing is not right. And that's the reason why you fired him. Not because you fired Conte, not because you fired Jose, not because it has anything to do with Nuno or Pochettino. Absolutely nothing. You fire the guy because he is inept. There is no other way to put it. And so let's get to the injuries. Because what we're doing is that we're breaking down the excuse. I don't have any stats for you, right? What I can tell you is that between Ange, Levy, right, Johan Lang, Rob McKenzie, and Scott Munn spent £402 million on that, which they're giving you. That's the only thing you need to know. So all of those who are going to turn around and say Daniel Levy does not spend the money. He has so-called football men that many of you, right? I go back and I watch the video. I am prepared. Some of the people who are now telling you that a player and that player is not good enough was endorsing Scott Munn and Rob McKenzie and Ewan Lang. When they were going after those players, when they were signing these kids, a lot of you were saying, that's it. Let's start from the bottom, not to build a team, but to once again resurrect a freaking project. And we have been on this project for 7, 8 years. And we can't get to the point where we are building a team. There is no good team in the world. There is no good club in the world. There is no good organization that is going to have a turnover of about 50 to 60% of your roster every year. That's a problem to have. You're not a team that were winning and aged out, right? If you're a good team, and you wanted to get better, then you cannot have so many spare parts. And when I went through the roster, right? When I went through the roster, there are 18 players sitting on that bench, right? And you count the 11. So that there are 29 to 30 players that makes up the roster, right? So let's get this straight. When you look at the bench, 50% of the bench without missing a beat. I could go through and I could name them that next year, if the season ends today, has absolutely no future with the club. Richarlison, Timo Werner, Foster, Reguilon. That's 4. That's almost a quarter already. So even for a team that is going to, and then whether or not we're going to sign Tell, which would make 5, whether or not we're going to sign Danzo, which makes 6, Ben Davis should go, which makes 7. And so without even trying, from just our bench, we have 7 players that has no business showing up after the last game, irrespective of what happened. And we want to say that this is supposed to be a big club. And these guys who were appointed 2 years ago were doing something. They haven't done anything to build the roster. And Postecoglou have not helped with the craziness that is going on with him for a system. You look at the starting 11. Just look at the starting 11. Son, in my opinion, needs to be replaced, not in terms of selling him, but finding a player who can take the mantle and the burden of scoring. Son has lost it. We're starting up talking about the starting 11. Kulusevski, who plays half the season. Madison, Porro, Bentancur, Bissouma. So when you combine all of that, you can't be a big club when you can effortlessly look at 12 players in a window and said that you can ship those players and you would not miss their services. But again, I would not blame the players, even though they have their expiration date. They need to go because the caliber overall not have anything to do with the system that Ange plays. If you get my drift here, they are just players who does not fit the caliber for where we are supposed to be as a club. So therefore, they should go. Am I going to blame them for the malaise that's happening out there on the pitch? Absolutely not. That's the making of one Ange Postecoglou, and that is why he needs to go. There is absolutely nothing else to say but to look at it and say the injuries were never the factor. Because when you look at the Chelsea game, we have Kulusevski out, we have Dragushin out, and we have Danzo out. 3 players out. Of the 3, the only one would have probably a possible starter is Kulusevski. And you saw, if you did, bless your heart if you didn't, what we put out there for what is supposed to be our number one, our best 11. Because we're preparing for a quarterfinals with Frankfurt. And therefore, in order to prepare, you have 2 games and some rest in between. So what are we going to do? Whether it is Southampton that's coming up next, it should not matter. We are putting our best team. Follow me on this. We are putting our best team out there. And who is missing? Kulusevski is missing. So therefore we have 98% of our first teamers out there. And we, that's what we showed. And I'm predicting this, that somewhere in there he's gonna make changes to that team that he put out there instead of work out the problems that we have with the same set of guys. I guarantee you that Sunday afternoon I'm going to come back and this is going to age, this video is going to age, and Ange Postecoglou with everything is going to make changes which are absolutely not necessary, right? Because if you are looking, or you were looking for a team that can compete, that plays together, then you need to start the same 11. What you need to do is change the tactics, which he is incapable of doing. So what you do when you're incapable of doing the right thing, you go out there and you try something, and you've tried to fix something that is not broken. And that 11 that you put out there should be the 11 that is going to play against Southampton if everyone is not injured, because your main focus and your main thinking is supposed to be these guys playing together. This is my best 11 because all my injuries are back. And if you put that out there, your first game with everybody that's there, and you said that this is your best 11, there should be no need for you to make changes. What you need to do is to make sure that there's a gel, there's a cohesiveness, and this is 11 that I'm putting out there because this is a system, however it is, whether I agree with it or not, that I'm going to deploy against Frankfurt. So the things that I'm looking at and the mistakes that we made and the things that needs to be corrected, this 11, as it is, should be going out there. I don't agree with the 11. I would have started Sarr instead of Bentancur. Let me put that out there. But the point I'm trying to make is that you don't beat the manager up for everything that he does. You don't beat him up because your guy was not in there. You don't beat him up because of that. You look at what he does when he realizes that in the second half that Bentancur needs to go and he's supposed to bring Sarr in, right? Or tell to get some punch up front or whatever it is that he was doing. That's what makes a difference. Odegaard wasn't getting it done. So if I have a fleet-footed player, then let me pull Odegaard very early and put Tell on to see what Tell can do, because my intentions is to find the players who are going to play against Frankfurt. This is supposed to be my 11. It doesn't mean that you don't go back and start Odegaard. You start him, but you know that he's going to get the hook, and the message is supposed to get through to him that, look, you're a starter. Stop looking behind you. You are going to get substituted. It's just a matter of when. So you give me everything that you have. That's what a manager does. There is nothing to be reserved in the tank. You can't do anything else to move up in the Premier League. So play for some respect. Show that you're preparing. This is supposed to be a practice match against Chelsea. Yes, the result matters. And if you had lost 1-0 and show some fight and show some gumption and show that you know what you're doing tactically, we went out and we did the same thing we have been doing since the day that Ange walked through the door. And that is why I'm telling you, and I keep telling people, the injury was a farce. A farce. Fast. Was an excuse, because the same thing that he was doing with a slow-footed Gray and Dragushin is the same thing that he's doing now with speed and higher caliber Van de Ven and Ramiro, and getting beaten over the top by long balls coming from the goalkeeper. 6s and 7s, 6s and 9s. Getting breached every time. The entire midfield, non-existent. That was happening long before we got injured. So instead of tightening up and instead of fixing that, we continue to march to the same off-key beat. And you're telling me that the injuries have a problem? No, the injuries were supposed to make you more compact. The injuries were supposed to tell you that Gray's not fast enough to play such a high line. Dragushin is not fast enough to play such a high line. So because I have my better players who are supposed to be adapting, right, because they're better, and that's the reason why they get the big money. That's the reason why they have the caliber that there is. When they come back, then this is the system I'm going to put them in. You don't go back to the old thing and say, I'm going to play my high line regardless of what it is, because you saw that it is not effective. What did he do? I got my Van de Ven back. I got my Ramiro and Udogie back. So I'm going to go stand on the half line. So how are you going to work it out within the trenches? How are you going to allow Bergvall and Madison to play if your number 6 is not there to help them? No team does it. You have a deep line, Enzo, running the team from deep and end up scoring. You don't see that from us. You don't see us arriving behind the play. You don't see us arriving. We are there. Why are we there before the ball? Why is our team always ahead of the ball? The players that are not supposed to be ahead of the ball, like your fullback and your number 6. Why? Why are we always facing our goal with everything that comes over or play through? Why is it that our entire backline, including the number 6, is facing Vicario? That has nothing to do with injuries. Absolutely nothing to do with injuries. I'm gonna stop here before I break a blood vessel, because let me tell you, man. Let me tell you, this is, as it is unacceptable. And even though I am mad, I am upset of not losing. You can't get used to losing. It becomes cultural, right? What you cannot continue to do is not improve. What you should not be doing is not being able, or you should not be in a position wherein you can't see the trees. And with Ange, we are always looking at the forest. The trees are right there in front of you, and we'll never see the trees. Injuries. Let me say this in the calmest of voice that I could, and as deliberately as I could, is to tell you that for those of you, right, I'm not going to give Levy a pass. But I saw a chairman who said, you want money? I'm going to give you money. You want football people? I'm going to give you football people. And I think he made a conscious effort to give you four of them: Scottman, Johan Lang, Rob McKenzie, and Ange Postecoglou. And they all are failing us. Failing. They are failing us. Period. They are failing us. I will never, not in this iteration, blame a single player for the season. And that includes Timo Werner, if you might want to believe it. He doesn't put himself out there. Didn't re-sign himself. Brennan Johnson. Blame him. He's playing him out of position. He's not a winger. He plays on the inside. Put him where he's comfortable. Put him where he's going to score goals without thinking. He can't beat a man if his life depends on it. How am I seeing that? And the manager is not seeing that. How am I seeing that? And the people who are sitting on the bench don't see that. Who is advising Ange Postecoglou? Who does Ange Postecoglou trust to make recommendations that he will accept? Who does he have on the bench that has a good rapport and can be a liaison between him and the players? I have not seen that rapport from manager to bench to manager, sideline, bench, players. I don't see that dynamic. I don't see that anything triangulating there, if that's such a word. I don't see that. I don't see, hey, we're not doing this right. And an assistant is whispering in the manager's ear and said, you know what, we need to change this. We probably just need to, to sit too deep and hold the fullbacks in for, and stem the tide because they're beating us over the top. You don't see that. You don't see the universal things that happen in football. Is that, you know what? Let's go to a three at the back. Let's see if we can pull the fullback, or let's see if we can just hold one of the fullback in and stretch our two centre backs across, especially when you have like a Van der Ven who can play at left fullback with no problem and push Udogie up so we can help to fill the midfield, give Bentancur some help, give Bergvall some help. Hold Porro in and form an automatic three at the back. Let's go to a 4-4-2 to see if we can stuff them a bit. Just for a little. Just to change the tenor of the game. You don't see that kind of thing. That's football. And for those who want to say, hey, why don't you go coach the team? I can tell you, go fuck yourself. It has nothing to do with whether or not I can coach or not. What it has to do is the basics of football. And you don't see that. You don't see that, you know what, it's not working. We're not pinning the fullback, right? So we're going to go long because we have the speed in Odegaard to go long. We have the speed in Son to go long. It doesn't have to be successful, but what you do is I plant it in the player's head that you are going to go over the top. You don't see Romero trying to hit Solanke over the top. With the strength that he has against a makeshift Caicedo. Caicedo is strong, but he's not big. And he's not a center half. So you're giving Caicedo too much credit. You're giving him too much credit by not attacking him. Because if you look the way Caicedo was playing, is that he was literally playing as a holding midfielder, pushing up in the offense. But you know why? Because it's habitual. It is what you call body memory. He can't get that out his head unless the manager said, don't move. Instructional. Intently. He plays the way he normally plays, although he was still the holding midfielder, but he was at centre half. And we never tested him from any angle. Go over the top. Solanke is much bigger than he is. And that's when you talk about game management. That's when you talk about the nuances of football. So again, for those who want to cheer a win and said, stick it to you, there you go. Take that. I can tell you, in a mild and the easiest way, you can all go fuck yourself. Because that's not football. Football is understanding what's needed. Football is realizing that my midfield is weak. I don't want to change my personnel. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to change the formation. That's football. That's how you coach. That's how you manage, is recognizing that, you know what? I don't have the strength in my midfield. So I'm going to pack it in. Flat four, four in front, two up front. Pull the wingers back. That's their duty. Or if you want to go on the offense, you can't do it by playing out the back. You have to go long to keep the fullback, the opposing fullback pinned. You don't see that kind of management. You don't see that kind of coaching. And like I said in the other part of the video, for those who understand, I will repeat that I happen to have a few years under my belt as a coach. I happen to have a few years under my belt as a scout. But I digress. It's not about me. Rude Boy DJ Paul for the Rude Boy sound off. Waiting to see what will happen against a weak Southampton. Anyway, I'm out of here. Peace, be good, walk good. Until next time, I'm DJ Paul, and come on, you Spurs.